Today's episode is what the last several Pulse FFI episodes have been leading up to. Today, I'll complete the process of factoring out a high-level interface for starting up a Pulse Audio main loop. As before, this episode was recorded live, so please excuse any stuttering and pauses. Now, this run method is managing a resource, this main loop pointer, and when we're managing a resource, it's a good idea to make sure that it always gets cleaned up. And right now, we haven't really made any provisions for that, and to demonstrate that, I'm going to add a test here. I'm going to call it test class run ensures main loop freed. Once again, I'm going to stub out the new method. I'm going to change the loop double a little bit. I'm going to tell it to be a null object. And the reason I'm doing this is various methods are going to be called on that for this test I don't really care about. So that way it can respond to any method without blowing up. So the thing that I really care about is that this loop object should receive the free message, even if an exception is raised. So I'm going to start a begin block here. I'm going to say main loop run, and inside the block I'm going to raise an exception. And I'm raising the exception class here, which is the root of the exception hierarchy, because I want to make sure that this handles every possible exception. Now, I don't want this exception bubbling up and killing my test run, so I'm going to rescue it here. And there's our failure. Didn't get the free call that we expected. It's an easy fix. Just put an ensure here before the call to free. And now we're passing again. If we look back here at our list sources script, the way I used the main loop method, I expected it to yield the main loop object. And I'm not doing that yet. So I'm going to add another test. But instead of adding a whole new test method, I'm actually just going to modify an existing test. So where I test that the block is yielded to using this ping, I'm just going to add the expectation that ping is called with the main loop object. And I'll add a block variable, pass that to the ping method. Run my test, verify that I get the expectation failure, and then fix it. Okay, so now we have our mainloop.run method, and it's implemented in terms of these instance methods. And if you recall back in the Pulse FFI module, we've got that main loop method, which is implemented in terms of the mainloop.run. And so now we can pop the stack all the way back to our test script, our list sources script. And as you recall, we sketched out this API that we wanted, where instead of calling main loop equals PA main loop new, we could just say pulseffi.mainloop do, and then do everything in the context of that block. We changed a couple of things so that they would reference the main loop pointer instead of the higher level main loop object. We took out these direct calls to run, main loop run and main loop free. So let's see if this all works. Well, when I run list sources, I can see my audio input sources. And when I run the smoke test, it passes. So now I can go through and get rid of these commented outlines. And now I've taken one step towards raising the abstraction level of this API. One thing I've tried to demonstrate in these last refactorings is the idea that you can move from a low-level API to a higher level one in very small steps. So here we're mostly still using these really low-level FFI bindings, but that's also integrating with this high-level pulseffi.main loop. And I made that work by making sure that low-level main loop pointer was always accessible so that it could be passed to these low-level calls. That's going to be a theme as I move forward with this library. I'm going to make sure that it's always possible to drop down and use those low-level bindings so that using the object model never locks you out from getting something done that can't currently be done using the higher level object model. All right, I think that's enough for now. Happy hacking!